Nigeria's presidential race is intensifying and the debates are drawing sharper lines than ever before. From the fuel subsidy controversy to questions of governance, security, and identity politics, candidates are laying out what visions could reshape the nation's future. As citizens grapple with rising fuel prices, inflation, and insecurity, the stakes in this election could not be higher.
Nigerians are demanding clarity, not slogans, and practical solutions that can ease hardship while restoring trust in leadership. Today, we shall be asking tough questions about whether Nigeria is ready to embrace competence over identity politics and governance over rhetoric. Join us this morning to discuss this is the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, Prince Adewole Adebayo. Good morning, Prince. A very warm welcome to you, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, and may God bless Nigeria.
Good morning.
Now, Prince Adebayo, your manifesto says farewell to poverty and insecurity for the 2027 elections. Would you say those are the biggest issues bedeviling Nigeria as a nation as we speak to you this morning?
They have been the issues bedeviling Nigeria for a long time, and they are the easiest things to focus on because they impact everyone, and they are quite manageable if only we put together a government that is meant to address it. You remember that 1993, 33 years ago, my political party, Social Democratic Party, came up with the slogan,
Hope 93.
Farewell to poverty. MQ Abiola, Hope 93. Now, 4 years ago, we came back and realized that every index of analysis will show that poverty remains the same or worse. Insecurity has been added because poverty would, upon growing up, give birth to insecurity. There's no way to escape that. So we decided to hope again, farewell to poverty and insecurity. And now, 4 years after, the government that got elected has worsened both poverty and insecurity. And it shows that these are the issues nagging, bugging, dogging Nigeria, and that no movement forward is possible until we've put a government in place solely to address poverty and to address insecurity decisively, so as to say there are things of the past, and now we can say farewell and move forward.
Okay. I mean, you've described subsidy removal as well as a funding a university that doesn't exist. Nigerians are actually paying more at the pump price at the filling station. Just this morning as well, we hear the prices would go up. What's the immediate fix for households, if you're asked? And most importantly, what do you make of an opposition as well in the name of former President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar saying he's going to return subsidy?
Okay, number one, let us understand that the word subsidy is not a solution to anything. The word subsidy is a budget line item that is to cover the differential between the landing cost of petrol and the pump price. So it is not something that everybody should be talking about all the time. 4 years ago, all of them, apart from me and AAC, said, don't remove subsidy because it would not solve the problem you say you want to solve. Because the problem we wanted to solve was our fiscal deficit, our unbalanced budget, our deficit budget, and the mismanagement of our revenue. I said, subsidy item is so small that it won't solve that problem. Even if you eliminated it, it will not solve any problem because it's like a company that is short by 100 billion in debt and wants to remove 500,000 naira that you budget for the staff clinic. The 500,000 will not save the company from bankruptcy, and your staff will become sick, so you have less productivity. So don't do it. Now, the other candidates said they were going to do it. One of them won, and he has done it exactly the way I predicted, the way SDP predicted it will happen is what has happened. Therefore, let us not talk about it again. It's as if we're not learning any lesson. You've done it. A person who has excessive gas, you went, instead of giving him some yogurt or something to drink to reduce the gas, you went and cut the appendix. I told you don't cut the appendix. That is not going to solve the problem. But after you have cut the appendix, you are now asking me, should we gum the appendix back? You can't. You have eliminated subsidy from the budget. So that item is lost. The money that will have been saved from it, you have already spent it. On top of that, you have borrowed more. And on top of that, you are collecting less money from the revenue than you should have collected. Now, on top of that, you've added foreign exchange devaluation. So the less money you are collecting is, by illusion of money, looking like bigger money. So the money that President Tinubu is collecting now is far less than the money that Jonathan was collecting, President Jonathan. But they are able to claim that they are collecting more money now because they have devalued the currency. So the same 30 billion, which will have given you 1.4 trillion, which will have given you like maybe $400 something billion, is giving you 1.4 trillion. But your 1.4 trillion cannot buy what 300 billion will buy in the past. So the worker who is given 70,000, 100,000 minimum wage cannot buy what 18,000 minimum wage will have bought in the past. So this is the commotion there. So the solution, two things we need to solve. One, and you have to understand them from the other. One is the issue of energy cost. That is, how much do you buy petrol? Our government will say very simply, the liter of petrol must be priced at such a range that no worker should spend more than 20% of his salary on transportation. So once that is guaranteed, and how do you guarantee that? You guarantee by making sure that there is a segmentation in the market, whereby certain portion of the crude that we used to keep for swap, for local refinery, that one is taken to our own 4 local refineries to refine. If not, the way we used to do swap before in the past, by giving foreign refineries certain amount of crude to refine for us for domestic consumption, we will do that domestically. Once you do that, you are able to guarantee that this portion of the crude production is not meant for sale in the international market. It's meant for domestic consumption. Therefore, our refineries can still make a lot of money by exporting overseas at commercial rate, but domestically, it's just like if you work at a restaurant. If you work at a restaurant, if you work at any restaurant as a worker, you don't buy food from that restaurant by paying what the external customers pay. There's a place where the staff go to eat. The airline attendants who fly the airplane and the pilot, they don't pay the ticket I pay as a passenger for them to eat on the plane. So it's common sense that if you are in Nigeria and we are producing 3 million barrels for export, if our OPEC quota is 2.4 million barrels that we can export, it doesn't stop us from producing additional quantity for domestic refineries.
But looking at the economics of it, a deregulated free market economy, are you allowed to do that? Can you really do that?
You can, of course. You are eminently allowed to do it, and every OPEC member is doing it. Every country that has a domestic market is doing it. You can't stop me from selling within my country. There is no international agreement that governs the sale of goods, production and sale of goods inside my own country. It's as simple as that. When the Russians give scholarship for their students, they still charge money to international students. When the Dutch, the Danish, all of them give scholarship to their own citizens, they still charge external prices for other students. So that's a basic thing. What I'm letting you know is that the second side, which you don't need to address, is the question of the financial deficit, which is making Nigeria to print money or borrow money. And the reason why you have deficit is because continuously the government is unwilling, is incapable to collect the revenue that is due. Look at Zamfara State. Zamfara State is making as much money as the whole country of Sudan, both Northern Sudan and Southern Sudan, or main Sudan and Southern Sudan. But that money now is going into banditry because they are mining the gold in Zamfara. The gold they are mining in Zamfara is enough to pay the budget and salary of all the workers in the Northwest, 7 states of the Northwest. But this money is going into the individual hands. And these individuals are maintaining terrorists in that area. So the government of that state, either they are complicit or they are incompetent, gold is being mined massively from Zamfara. Go around any gold market in the world, they are aware that substantial gold is coming from Zamfara. But if you look at our budget, how much money are we making from gold in Zamfara? Nothing. But billionaires are coming from there, buying discos, buying dams, buying all kinds of assets, sponsoring elections, doing everything with that money. And violence continues there. If you look at Nasarawa State, lithium is being produced there. But go and check the item on budget, how much money is coming from lithium. Go to Osun State, you will see displacement there, Chinese, other people coming to mine gold with traditional rulers, with other people. All that money is being used to buy Rolls Royce. So what I'm letting you know is that even now, I shouted 4 years ago that 80% of the crude was being stolen. Now what did they do? They made arrangement, fired the Navy, put some private individuals there. Now they claim that it has reduced. Two things. One, it has reduced. It's supposed to be zero. It's not supposed to reduce. It's supposed to be zero. Zero. Secondly, it has reduced. Where is the money going? A lot of the money is paid as commission. A lot of money is diverted. So long and short of it is that we are losing a lot of revenue. That is why it looks like the economy is not growing. Now imagine somebody who was born in 1982 and has the same height, same weight in 1985 as they have now in 2026. That person is not only a pygmy or a dwarf, he is totally underdeveloped. That's what's happening to Nigeria. Our budget has not grown since the 80s. It's the same amount. It's not possible. And we have other area sectors like GSM that we didn't have before, like new telecom, like internet, like other industries, fintech. So which means the traditional one, which used to give us money, agriculture, mining, and petroleum, has stopped to grow. It's not possible. This money is being stolen, and you can see that it's being stolen. So that is the problem that we are facing. And if we don't address those problems, you will not address the economy. And I can tell you, this issue of foreign exchange is now 40 years old. 40 years old. It was in 1986, during the Structural Adjustment Program, that SAP introduced second-tier, first-tier, and second-tier foreign exchange market. Now we are still dealing with foreign exchange now, 40 years after. So the lesson to learn from it is that economics is very patient. Once you don't follow the law of economics, you will go round and round and round, you will return there. And that's why we said farewell to poverty and insecurity requires 5 clear things to be done. 1, you need to collect the revenue. 2, you need to balance the budget, because the expenditure should have so much discipline and legality that only monies appropriated will be spent as appropriated on item appropriated for when appropriated. Thirdly, you have to create employment. Anything that does not make your citizen productive, you are locking away 90% of your GDP because you cannot rely on minerals and incomes alone. You must rely on the productivity of your citizens, productivity of producing things for local consumption and exporting the excess of it to earn additional foreign exchange. Fourth, you must have social services, healthcare, education, housing. Not only do they boost your GDP, they enhance the lifestyle of your people and eliminate poverty. Because once you have access to good food, good housing, healthcare, good water supply, and basic safety, you already eliminated poverty. You can do that in 3 years, you can do that in 2 years, depending on how efficient your public services are. And lastly, you must be a country of rule of law, including abolishing corruption in public places and abolishing criminality on the street. Those are the things you need to do. And that will also implicate the issue of insecurity, because lawlessness that leads to insecurity, and the lawlessness and criminality is because those who are in government are the drivers of this terrorism, criminality, banditry, and kidnapping. And they are making a hell of money out of it, not only from government budget, also from money they collect from victims.
Okay, and that was sort of...
That puts an end to that.
If I may interject at this point, I think that will lead to the next question I was going to ask about insecurity. We were recently quoted as stating that insecurity still persists because it's either government-sponsored or government-enabled. Can you share with us, who the interests within the government are that you believe are benefiting from insecurity, and how we can, as a country, dismantle that sort of quote-unquote dangerous economy?
Okay, thank you. Number one, this government that is there, Buhari that was before it, Goodluck Jonathan that was before that, all have people in the State House, Office of National Security Advisor, the service chiefs, who manage our expenditure that is meant to address insecurity. And the method they have adopted, unfortunately, has been to keep these terrorists alive and also pay them off sometime, and also instruct the armed forces a rule of engagement which allows for the terrorists to have enclaves. So once you push them up to this place, leave them alone and leave it like that. And have continuous communication with them. That if, for example, they kidnap somebody, behead a teacher and whatever, government will be in touch with them, settle them, either pay them money or openly or pretend that they didn't pay them, collect these victims from them. If the victims captured have become a political embarrassment to the government will go to the bandits and collect these victims that are unmanageable in public image, return them, and leave the kidnappers alone. So you will see that a huge population may be kidnapped. They will take 2 or 3 teenagers or young adults who look like they have not been fed for 1 month. They will now parade them and say they have caught these people. They have not been able to break the network. Now, if you look into Nigeria, you will see international reports. It suggests to you that billions of money in all currencies are being circulated within our financial system. And the government is in grip of that because they have everybody's BVN, they have everybody's information. Now, then in terms of communication, you will see that the thousands of sets of satellite phones and all of that are being carefully distributed, methodically distributed all over the forest in Nigeria. And they are using spectrum license. Each terrorist is using a licensed spectrum to communicate, and government is not interested in intercepting. Now, that's one side. Second side is that there are a group of miners. You will see them, they don't look like miners. They look like businessmen, politicians. But they are in charge of all these mining sites. across the country. And if you look at the preponderance and incidences of killing, maiming, dislocation, banditry, it is contiguous to places where these huge resources are deposited. In the past, we will have governed them through the mining cadastre. We will tell you the tonnage, the grammage of all the deposits, which company is mining it, how much money they are making. Now, they don't. So you will never hear Dele Alake giving you, a Minister for Solid Mineral, giving you detailed income from gold, detailed income from lithium, from other rare earths. No. What you see are people who are never short of money, who can give people $1 billion, $500 million. Anything you are doing, they put money in it. And they tend to become the people who dominate the campaign councils of the ruling party, whatever it is. If it was PDP, you will see them there. Now that it's APC, they will be there. And they're the huge spenders. So those are the things sustaining this criminality. Then the third tier are those who are in service. Those who are in service don't think that they can serve the country and retire as generals, admirals, marshals, and survive on their salary. No. What they do is that they join the civilians in the mismanagement of the security money. Now, what happens is that you will find that the people who are in the middle level or senior level in the military are living beyond their salary. They're having a birthday party for their wife in Dubai, in Qatar, everywhere, which is 10 times higher than their annual salary. So they live bigger, and when they retire from politics, military, they join the politics. Even while they're in the military, they're building hotels, they're distributing money, donating money for campaign, and all of that. So there's the military, the top military brass is awash with money, which will make their training to be essentially betrayed. So the conclusion of all of it is that if you now capture terrorists or kidnappers, you find out that a kidnapper or kidnapping set or gang that has collected billions from victims, when you capture them, they will say to you, look, with the last kidnap we did, they only gave him 150,000 naira. Another one will say they only gave me 200,000 naira. Who is collecting the money? Okay, our own research shows that the money is being collected by the same security leadership. So they are the one who set up the whole system. Where they collect the money, they're the one helping them to evacuate it. So the long and short of what I'm saying to you here is that it is the government that has the responsibility to end criminality. Unfortunately, the government is infiltrated at the highest level, middle level, and low level with people who have seen it as a lucrative window that they don't have to account for. Because when a governor says, I have spent 3 billion from my security vote to pay kidnappers, you're not going to ask the governor, where is the receipt? Where is the signature of the kidnapper? So the governor takes half of it, commissioner of police, the security advisor, all the people around, they take it, negotiator. There's a new industry in Nigeria now, hostage negotiators. Let them trace them. Let them trace these hostage negotiators. You will see that the currency that is being used to pay is circulating around. So we all know this. My solution is that there will be no criminality in my government. I am not here as an analyst. I am here as a person who has studied the problem, want to discuss it frankly without fear or favor, and have found a solution to it. That's where you are running for president, the way I am running, the way we are doing SDP. Don't take money from those who make their money from criminality. Don't put in your campaign council people who with records for terrorism and terrorism financing, or who benefit from insecurity. Because if you do, they are the ones who will also populate the government for you. At the end of the day, you will be pretending that you don't have solutions when you know you have solutions. But when you look left, right, and center, the security report that goes to the president points poignantly towards people who are dear to him. And that way, their politics will collapse. It reminds me, if you recall, the problem with Balewa in the First Republic, when the Daily Times was attacking the government of Balewa for corruption. And they were pointing to corruption at the sale of P&T land at Tijera Causeway, pointing to so many things, pointing to the lifestyle of ministers building houses that the salary cannot sustain. And Babatunde Hossein, who was the MD, had an interview with Balewa. I was saying, you are a clean man. You are an honest man. How can you allow this to happen? And he told him, look, I am running a coalition government. These people who you write articles about, they are members of parliament who are ministers in my government, and it's a coalition government. And I've told the NCNC that they should replace them. They will not replace them. So if I fire them, they will withdraw from my government, and my government will collapse. And Babatunde was the president and said, yes, let it collapse. It's better to have a collapsed government than to have a corrupt government. At the end of the day, Balewa could not, because he wasn't the only person in the party, he couldn't fire Ozubamba the way fire is a few of the people who were indicted. At the end of the day, the government still collapsed because when the military came, they killed everybody, killed Balewa, and those corrupt people were not killed. They survived to old age, but Balewa died in his youth. So any president who worries about politics, worries about his life, worries about personal interest, who cannot fire this criminal and criminality, will find out that at the end of the day, the criminals will outlast your government, they will serve the next government, and your own government will collapse. So we will not allow that to happen.
Wow. Okay. A lot to look into as everything keeps moving on very closely to 2027. But it seems like every single political party participating in the 2027 elections are well and fine with INEC, especially after the Osun state elections. What's your take on that? Do you think we're good to go with INEC? That's a question I'm asking every political party and every presidential candidate as much as possible.
INEC is a work in progress. The INEC you saw in Osun is an INEC that has been SDP beaten because we've had 6 cases against them in court. We've put pressure on them. We've been fighting them. Even right now, we are sending a letter to INEC regarding the lousiness of the code they are using to upload the substitution of candidates. So we're fighting them every day, as it should be. We're not their friends, and they're not our friends. And anybody who pretends that INEC is home and dry is deceiving himself. INEC is malleable. INEC acts according to the pressure that they get. Where in Osun State, the people came out to try to vote, even though they are choosing between 6 and half a dozen, because both sides are working for the same capone. But the important thing is that the people were determined on their own, without knowing all the details of the politics. They just wanted to be the decider of the election. And they came out in large numbers. So if INEC had been told to do anything funny there, there's no room, because when there's high turnout, when the people are well attuned to the issue, INEC will behave. In addition to that, INEC is not as important as people think. It's not that if INEC is right, everything is right. The law enforcement are also so important. And if they are part of a conspiracy with INEC and a conspiracy with the media, then the election is totally lost. So if you can get INEC to at least be on the side of the law, and we have used litigation to fine-tune the 2026 Electoral Act trap that they brought. So we are the one responsible. And we've told Dantale, who is the IPAC chairman, we've told other political parties, don't be friendly with INEC. Fire them. Keep them on their toes. Don't make friends. Don't ask for favoritism. Don't say go there and be making friends, because that's where some political parties get it wrong. They try to be friends with INEC. No, INEC is supposed to be an upright institution, and let us keep their feet to the fire. Then we now focus on law enforcement and to let the IG of police, the service chiefs know that they work for Nigeria. They don't work for APC or President Tinubu, and to make sure that we discipline our troops that go on public service during election. 3, to let the political parties play clean and fair, because the political parties are the one who brought money. In Osun State, over 100 billion was spent between APC and Accord. That obscene amount of money was not brought by INEC, was brought by politicians giving money. APC, I can tell you categorically, and I will indemnify you if they can take me to court. they spend close to 10 million naira per polling unit. That amount of money, who spends it if you are legitimate? And if you keep doing that, you are going to be distorting the election. The fault is that all of us have a responsibility to know that INEC is a legal institution. Honest people need to go and work there. So when they're asking for ad hoc staff, if you know you're an upright Nigerian, you're an incorruptible Nigerian, go there, apply to work there. Even if you don't work there, form NGOs to go and work there. It is not easy to be unbiased. It is not easy to be accurate. It takes intentionality. Okay. It takes you being patriotic. And lastly, the voter. It doesn't matter how we try to improve INEC. If your aim is to go and sell your vote, you betray your country. You are worse than the armed robber or kidnapper. You are worse than the people in government you are criticizing. So a citizen who has the right to vote and sells it has sold his citizenship and has sold his future. And those are the things we need to address if you want to get it right.
A right place to pick up and ask my next question, Prince Adebayo, because your governance policy blueprint is farewell to poverty and insecurity. But let's look at the poverty part and what makes people sell their votes. SDP is left-leaning, socialist in nature, but we've seen corruption. We've seen elections in Nigeria, vote buying, vote trading. It's almost like an auction. How do we elevate the conversation now that campaign season has started, away from musical jamborees, handing over of gifts, to policy issues? And how do you plan to defeat big money and elevate the conversation? Because even your constituency, your background is in the legal profession. Just yesterday, they invited someone who is not qualified to be on a panel. So it just shows the level of decadence in our society.
Yes, the problem we met on ground is a reality. What we do about it is posterity. What I'm bringing out is that every institution is working one way or the other. Even conducting, you mentioned the NBA, Yaga, who is a great critic of INEC, Yaga was asked to conduct a presidential debate. So you could see something is to do, struggling, couldn't keep accurate time, couldn't, so it's not easy. This issue of being an umpire is not an easy thing. So institutions need to learn, everybody needs to learn. But poverty is an artificial problem in Nigeria. There are countries, if you study elementary or remember elementary geography, there are countries who naturally won't have water, just because they're in the desert, and they won't have greenery and agriculture. And there are countries that were washed with water, agriculture, and all of that. Geography has a role to play. And if your poverty is arising from geography, then you can say nature is not fair to you. Naturally, by nature, you're supposed to be poor. And there are many countries of the world, Israel, China, many countries that are supposed to be poor because of geography. However, they have used leadership and entrepreneurship to escape it. In our own case, we have no reason naturally to be poor. There is no poverty case in Nigeria that cannot be eliminated in 6 months. If our aim is to eliminate it, because the way to deal with poverty is to address affordability of livelihood. That's why I will also call it life more abundant. Basically, housing in Nigeria is a one-year event, 1 year, because of our geography, because of our climate, because of our building materials, because of the availability of resources. So if we want to eliminate poor housing, we can do that in 1 year, because by the second year of Jakande's government, those Jakande estates were all over Lagos. In Shagari Estate, you still have them in many bushes of Nigeria today. When Okuno was...
Femi Okuno, yes.
No, not Femi Okuno. When Dosumu was Minister of Housing, Wahab Dosumu. So now, when Jakande again came to serve under Abacha, with Nadeko, with all the crises, Jakande served within the second year of Jakande's joining Abacha's government as the Minister of Housing. He has started the largest estate in Africa, Gwarinpa Estate. It is that Gwarinpa Estate now that leads to all the other estates going towards the airport and Kubwa. So, and then it started the one at Gadua, which later was is known as the successor's estate. Now, what I'm bringing out of all of this is that you can address Nigerian poverty within the life of an administration. When it comes to agriculture, you can address food availability in 9 months. I'm a farmer. I have farms in 11 states. So there are some crops, like if you go to my farm, Agbede Agric in those states, you will see that 7-year cycle for air palm. But if you go to my farm in Mayobalua, in Adamawa, I plant rice, I have a rice mill, I have a sense of rice at any point in time. If I was a government, I would be able to produce sufficient rice to crash the price of rice to something that you won't even remember the price anymore. But I'm a commercial farmer, I still have to pay input, do everything, but it's still quite affordable. Now I'm planting ginger. The ginger will give me more money in 1 week than I will earn as president in 8 years, official salary. So just ginger. And I'm buying the ginger from Kaduna State government and taking them to Nasarawa, to Adamawa to plant. So what is so difficult there? So is it animal farming? I have large poultries. I grow protein in about nine months. I have 3 cycles of eggs, of layers. So what is the issue? Fish farming. If I invite your station to come and visit my fish farm, the fishes don't run away. They don't kidnap anybody. They don't go on strike. They don't fight anybody. They keep increasing once you feed them. So why is agriculture so difficult to do in Nigeria? Then in addition to that, why are 3 levels of government not going around dealing with issue of employment through agriculture and agro-ally? Now, ginger that I'm producing, I used to think of exporting them. Now I'm trying to take them out as ginger oil. So I'm talking with fabricators in China and all of that on how we can fabricate these presses to make ginger oil and enhance ginger oil. So money is calling you everywhere you go in Nigeria. So poverty should be eliminated immediately. Then when it comes to healthcare, just do 2 checks for every Nigerian per year. 2 compulsory checks for every Nigerian per year, paid for by the state. Cover basic primary health care, cover basic lifestyle and tropical diseases coverage, diabetes, hypertension. Those are the urgent killers. So what is so difficult there? Then through housing, you give people some basic amenities like water, put solar roof on 11 kVA solar roof on everybody's ceiling. Nobody's going to have blackout anymore. So you can now plan your power project, the 70,000 megawatts that we're planning. You now have like 20-something years to plan it properly, the way power sector project management is done. So what is the problem of poverty that you cannot address? And why is poverty an excuse for kidnapping, excuse for selling your vote, excuse for everything? No. There are people who are poorer than us in some countries, and they still vote their conscience. There are parts of India that are poor, very poor, but they don't sell their votes. So I don't think that selling of votes could be excused. It's criminality, I can tell you that. But what I can tell you is that a good government that is following Chapter 2 of the Constitution, fundamental objective and directive principle of state policy, that is not governing idiosyncratically, governing based on slogan. Everything that we need to do is already stated in our Constitution. And if you look at Section 224 of the Constitution, it says that political parties' manifesto must be in line with Chapter 2. Only the SDP is complying with it. It shows to you that only the SDP is the political party that can govern, and you are going to have sustainable government. Only the SDP, that if you remove me today, right now, and put any person in the SDP leadership, they will do exactly how I will do. Because I am not saying this thing from my head. These are not my wishes. This is in line with what we set up the government to do, and it's in line with Chapter 2 of the Constitution. So it's not personal to me. If next time I'm not running, another person is running for the SDP, it will be exactly the same. Look at MK Abiola is late, buried, and we pray for God for the repose of his soul. But I am enunciating exactly what Abiola enunciated. in 1993 election and won the SDP, the presidential election. Abiola is not here. I've not spoken to Abiola since he died. So what is keeping it on? Whereas my colleagues are changing parties, changing manifesto. For example, Vice President Atiku Abubakar said 4 years ago he will remove subsidy on day one and he will sell NNPC. Now, 4 years later, he's in another party saying, no, I am going to restore subsidy. Something that was in place, you said you will remove it. Now your colleague removed it. Now you say you want to put it back. Inconsistency. Everybody who ran against me last time, apart from AAC candidate, has gone to another political party. He said exactly opposite of what they said last time. But SDP, since I joined as a 19-year-old in 1991, has been training me along the line of this a little to the left, while NRC was a little to the right. It has been training us on this issue of complying with Chapter 2 of the Constitution and of these social programs. And that's what we are still talking about. From the time I was 19 years old till now that I'm 54 years old, I am still talking the same slogan, the same thing, the same principle. And if the SDP is given the presidency, we will govern so well because everyone in our party, both in the executive and legislature, both at the federal level, state level, and local government level, understand what we are here to do. If they don't need me to tell them, it is all we agreed upon. And that's the reason why when they formed their coalition, all of them, all of the people you see now, they came to the SDP. We asked them, have you read Chapter 2 of the Constitution? Have you seen the programs that are there? If you sign that you can do them, you can join the party, and any of you, it doesn't have to be Adebayo, any of you can be president, we don't mind. But they ran away because they didn't want to subscribe to it. And Nigerians should not vote for anyone who is not saying what I'm saying now, and who is not having a political party that is saying the same thing, and who has not had a history of consistently saying the same thing, because unless we solve the problem of poverty and insecurity, nobody is going anywhere. Any fetish that anybody has, that someone from my village or religion is going to be president and all will be good, that fetish has been denounced, because you could see that we have had presidents who ran to represent Niger Delta. Niger Delta is not better. We have presidents who ran to defend the North is not better. We've had a president who said, Emi Lokan, it's the time of the Southwest, Yoruba people. He has come now, brought his own version of Yoruba people. They are all over the place, collecting almost every federal appointment. Nobody is better. No Nigeria getting better. No Yoruba land getting better. So what you need to do now is to have a political party like the SDP, who has clear manifesto you can follow, who can propose programs they can fund, who know how to source the money, have the manpower to develop it, and have targets and measurables that you can see as deliverables. That's what we need to do now, and that's why we're here.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate the time you spent with us here, talking about the current situation and the way forward come 2027. Thank you so much.
Adebayo. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, and may God bless Nigeria.